Hey guys, thanks for joining me with Learn to Play Games. My name is Lance, and we are here at Gen Con 2019. I'm with Byron and Diemension Games. We're going to take a look at some of their new titles, exciting titles that they have coming out this year. So Byron, tell me a little bit about this really new creepy game that you guys are working on.
So we are currently getting ready to launch our second game, Donna Madness. It's a prequel to our last game, which was Deep Madness.
My favorite.
Which we really appreciate all your help on there. And Donna Madness is a horror game experience.
Okay.
So it is it's for 1 to 4 players, cooperative. But whereas many games have the theme is kind of horror,
yeah,
this is an actual horror title.
Okay.
So it is. My goal is by the end of the game to have really scared you.
Awesome. That sounds really cool. As some of you know, that I've been following this game for a couple years now. I am really excited about checking this one out, and it's not too far off in the future to be getting the Kickstarter stuff going. So let's go ahead and jump behind the camera, and I'll show you some of the really cool things that they're working on with this.
This is Donna Madness. It is a horror experience for 1 to 4 intrepid players. In the game, you will play one of the Wanderers, and as you're playing through the game, you're trying to find out why you're in this horrible nightmare world that you have been sucked into with these other unfortunate souls, and you're discovering that you are in a very, very dark, horrible place. Your memories also, when you were sucked into this place, shattered, your mind shattered, and so you're trying to reconstruct your memories and your what happened to you and why you're here. And as the story unfolds, because it's a very story-driven game, you will advance your character. You will there's some role-playing game elements. There's some resource management elements where you're able to, throughout the campaign, build up your character and become a lot, well, not more powerful, but you're more likely to survive. So throughout the game, you will be taking encounters. These encounters will take you to a place in one of the storybooks. These books, there's going to be one for each of the characters, and they're going to be pretty much full-length books full of their stories. Each game is a chapter that is specifically focused on one of the characters, which would be one of the storybooks. So in this particular game, we're set up for Emily, the nurse there, and so all of the encounters would be based around her story and finding out her story. Then the next game would be a different character, and so on and so forth, until you reach the final game in the campaign, where you would fight one of the epic final bosses. There are multiple endings for each character, and the ending with the most story points across all of the characters is the one that is going to trigger the final boss. The easiest endings to get are awful, terrible endings, but you can do, if you're really careful, you can get the better endings that are a little less terrible. Through the game, you will be facing your malformations as well. This is another version of Emily. This is another version of Emily. And so is this. The malformations are like the dark, twisted part of your wanderer's soul. And throughout the game, you're going to have to deal with these malformations. They are going to make life very difficult for you, and you're probably going to want to take them out and kill them. The problem is, the only way to beat the horrific abomination that is rampaging around the board, spreading vortexes and just chaos and evil and trying to eat your face, is to use the malformations to attack him. So if you take out your malformations, you're not going to be able to kill the abomination that is chasing you. Each game, you're also going to have chapter-specific monsters called aberrations. For this one, since Emily's a nurse, these are her patients. from the facility where she was a nurse. And it's her memories, it's her feelings, and it's also parts of the minds and consciousnesses of these people that have fused together to become these horrific monsters. And so you will have to be defeating them also as you're going through the game. It's not all bad. You also have domain cards, which are able to help you, aid you, and allow you to help your other investigators, wanderers, as you're progressing through the game. And you also have resources you get, as well as these coda cards at the end of encounters. And coda cards can be used to build up your character, sort of like in an RPG, where you have a maximum number that you can swap out throughout the campaign, strengthening your character, building your character up, and really making things hopefully a little bit easier, as well as memories. Memories are directly from the mind of the main character for this chapter. And the memories, they're sometimes scary, they're often bittersweet or sad, but they really show you the past of the character that you're playing as. And the stories themselves are as I said, we call this a horror experience, and so the stories that you're going to be playing through are rather horrific. And they are definitely going to mess with you, but hopefully you're going to have a lot of fun as you're being scared. And so that's a little bit about Donna Madness, and hopefully that helps fill in some gaps. And so here we have some of the models from our game after Donna Madness, which is called Celestial. This is going to be a skirmish game of sorts that's going to be 1 versus 1 PvP, or it's going to be 2-player co-op, or also soloable. And it is a little different from a lot of games in this sense, in that, first of all, it's diceless. There are no dice in the game. It's instead card management, resources management. There's also some hidden elements to it as to what different characters can do and that sort of thing. Their powers grow as you progress through the different scenarios, and so they kind of level up. One thing I probably should mention about these is, while these are resins, they are also the actual size of the monsters that you are going to see in the actual game. When we actually release the game, which will probably be around January, February, March of 2020, they will be in HIPS plastic, a multi-part kit, but they will still be this exact same size, and in fact the resins here could even be played in the game if one felt adventurous. The game is it's story driven. It's has a very deep mythology behind it. It's actually based on Chinese mythology. Almost every one of these characters are characters from Chinese mythology who we have put our spin on and just made a little unique. I kind of describe this game as Chinese mythology meets a little bit of techno, like a cyberpunk, meets a little bit of Lovecraft, meets a lot of Game of Thrones. The game is the storyline is pretty brutal, and it's very epic, and it takes place over several seasons actually, and the story will build and the characters will change as those seasons progress. There's 4 different factions in the game. We have kind of a group or a bunch of different ones mixed together here from the different factions. Most of them are from one of the core box sets, though, that will launch with the Kickstarter. We will have 2 core boxes when that releases, both completely independent, but both also working on the same story to build it. So there will be a lot of change and variation in the game as it goes. Each scenario is very different, and they're very specific, and it's going to be a very cinematic and I think very cool game. So we're really looking forward to getting this one out there and putting it out as well. And here we have a third game that we are creating at Diemension Games. This one is very, very different from our other games in that it has very few minis. In fact, as you'll see, there are no minis on the table at all right now, though we will have a few in the final game as an option. But this is a deck building fighting combo brawler that also happens to feature very, very different versions of many of your favorite heroines from fables and from fairy tales and from legends and even some historical characters, though very different, obviously. So Red Riding Hood, obviously, she has taken a little bit of a turn, become kind of a steampunk, or not steampunk, I'm sorry, a cybernetic assassin bent on revenge. Snow White over here, she took after her stepmom a little bit more than maybe she should have, and now her big thing is poisoning her opponents. And then there will be a number of other characters too, probably 10 in all, ranging from Sleeping Beauty, who also happens to be locked in a mental asylum, to Alice in Wonderland, who has multiple personalities, and Mulan, and so on and so forth. So there's going to be a real range, and each character is going to be asymmetric, very unique, very different, with very different play styles as well as looks and feels and that sort of thing. And we're really looking forward to having this one out. This will be after Celestial, so it will be probably spring or summer of 2020, somewhere around there. So, yeah, keep an eye out for Twisted Fables as well.
Well, I hope that gave you guys a good idea of what is coming out from Diemension Games. Like I said, I am so excited for these titles, man. You guys just keep on knocking it out of the park. So,
thanks, Lance. Appreciate it.
So again, the Donna Madness is going to be looking at Kickstarter
mid to late September.
Okay.
So coming up soon.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for it. And actually, you can take a look at a preview page now. You can find us on Facebook, or you can go to bit.ly/Dom Preview.
Cool. I'll have a link to that in the description below for those of you that are interested in that as well. So thank you so much, Byron, for taking us through that.
Thank you, Lance. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. So stay tuned, guys. I will have coverage of this for the Kickstarter as well, so I'll show you guys how the game plays and give you a little bit more insight into it as well, so that you can decide whether this is one that you would like to back as well. And then we have stuff on the horizon as well that I am super excited about. Hopefully you guys are super excited about as well. As always, I mean, thank you. And the artwork, I mean, just you guys, I don't know where you find them, but these guys are beautiful, man. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again later.
Have a great day.